Hello, welcome to Cozy Costume Creations. Here's my hair, so you know it's me. Welcome! Today we're going to do a little bit more beadwork, so a little bit of jewelry making. So I got these adorable resin gummy bears, and they're sparkly and cute and adorable. And yeah, I don't know, there's the part of me that wants to make really classy, fancy jewelry. And the other part of me that just wants to make my inner child happy with all of the sparkles and all of the cute weird colors that are like bright and poppy and childish. And today we're doing the latter. Because you know what? You can wear whatever the heck you want and you can make whatever the heck you want. So like, why not just do it? Anyway, so I found these other beads that I already had because they spoke to childhood Sarah, and I found these beads that also did the same, and they all ended up working together, and I laid them all out. The problem was, I originally bought these actually to make hair sticks, because they have the hole in the middle, rather than having the holes like go through, and so I can use it kind of on the sides. So that is kind of a bummer because I want to make a necklace with all of this, but it's going to be really hard for the necklace to sit flat when I have, the center being where the hole is. So I had to think about this for a little bit, and I was like, oh no, but it's too cute, I have to do it. Baby Sarah needs this. So, then I decided I'm just going to have to sew it onto something, right? So what I'm going to do, because it does have those holes, I'm going to turn it into a choker that then has dangly gummy bears. So that's the plan. Let me show you what we're going to do. Alright, so I have this transparent ribbon, and they are required by law. Any fabric that is sold in the United States has to tell you the fiber content. There are a lot of reasons for that. One is because you have to know what the fiber content is for dyeing things. Then there can be allergies, and there's a lot of other things, and like you have to know what you're buying, right? So I know this is 100% polyester. What do we know about polyester? Polyester is a synthetic fiber that melts. So I have my handy dandy lighter here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to burn the edges so I get a nice clean beautiful edge. If I don't do this, this is going to fray out. Do you see how easy, especially since it's sheer, this is just going to fray the flippin' heck out, right? So if I were to leave this to its own devices, this would rip out pretty quickly. So instead, I'm going to cut myself a nice little edge, and then, because it's polyester, I like to, you can see that this has been used to do this many times because it's all blackened. Anyway, I like to use pliers to hold the edge of the ribbon. I can control what's happening a little bit more, and if anything does catch on fire, it can kind of help stop that, right? It won't catch on fire because polyester, but just in case, it's also a good way to hold it away from me and I kind of get a consistent edge. And then afterwards, I can just and kind of squish that so it's all good. I might need to do just a little bit more on this just because it is sheer. So I'm going to do just a teensy bit more. And my tendons are a mess, so my grip strength is nothing. Oh, great. Thanks, tendons. Let's just do a little quick. So I've got this nice. This one's it's a little bit more like less pretty than it typically is, and that's just because it's a sheer, so it's kind of clumpy. And now I'm going to hold it up to my neck, and I'm going to measure because this is going to be a choker. I'm just kidding. I've never super loved chokers because I did grow up in the 90s, and in the early 2000s that was the thing. And I was like, why would you wear something that's going to choke you? But whatever. I mean, I'm making one now, so once again, I'm going to grab my pliers. There we go. Edges burned, so it's not going to, or edges melted. So yeah, okay, let me explain what this does. So you're melting the edges so that, again, it doesn't fray out. So now when I do that same thing that I did before, do you see how it's not fraying? Maybe you can't see. It's not going to fray out, right? So I've melted this edge so that all of those fibers are like melted together, so you can't just like pull them off, right? So they're melted, they're not going to fray out now. So that's really cool. So that's how you finish the edges of ribbons, right? Another thing I'm going to do, I'm going to use these ribbon ends, little pea, I'm going to use gold because that goes with the color scheme I've got going on. And I'm going to use the big ones. So the ones that go with the shape, or the size. And then I can just stick this in. And I'm going to grab some pliers. And hope that my grip strength is sufficient. So it's got these like claw bits. Let me just bring this a little closer to you. So it's like this claw that I can wrap around it, and then those claw pieces are going to clamp into it, right? So that you can't like pull it off, right? It's like a Venus flytrap or something. I want to match it up. Good, good. I'm just going to kind of match it as I go. Nice, nice. Awesome. So now I've got this clamped in place, and it's going to be hard for it to come out, right? Because it's clawed, right? Perfect, perfect. Let's do the other side. Do the other side just the same way. All right. Now that I've got my ribbon in both ends, boop, 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 have my beautiful ends attached. Now we've got these guys, the jump rings. I'm going to open them up. Again, we twist. And one side will just have the jump ring. And I try to put the lobster clasp on the side that a person is handed. So I'm right-handed, so I try to keep that on my right side. And I think that makes it a little easier. A little easier to put on. So one has the link, and now on the other side have the lobster clasp. I should prefer to hold this one in this hand. And I always check my lobster clasp before I put them on to make sure that they open, because the worst thing in the world, okay, not the worst thing, there are a lot of worse, anyway, but something not fun is to create a piece and then realize the clasp does not work. Oh no. So always test your clasps beforehand so you know that you're putting on a functional, working clasp. There you go. Awesome. And if you wanted to just make a ribbon, you could stop here and you could have a cool ribbon necklace, a little choker. Alright, but we have lots more to do because I'm going to be super bougie. Alright, so I'm keeping in mind this is my right side. So then this would be whoop, whoop, whoop. So if I put this on, that means this is the inside, which means this is the outside if I lay it like that. So now I'm going to scooch everything over, and I'm going to place these things where I want to sew them and make some markings. Alright, so I've marked center front with my water-soluble pencil, and I've got this guy here. So what I'm going to do, I've got my silicone thread. Let me see where that's at. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of anchor. I'm just going to do a stitch here to kind of anchor things. And this is a me thing where I just go through one of the threads. And I use that to kind of anchor it. So that is a thing that I like to do. Now, I'm going to grab this guy. And then this bead, I'm going to go through only once. And I'm going to go back through this. And that will hold that in place really nicely. And now I'm going to kind of flatten it so it sits like that. Perfecto. And we're going to go through, make another stitch. And then if I wanted, I could tie off at the bottom of this. And then I could have each of these stitched on individually with knotting it off after each one. Or I can use this same thread and add the pieces on that way, which is the one that I am going to do. I will see the thread through this since it is transparent, so that might be something to consider. That's well, it is so that's something to consider, is that this is transparent, so I will see that thread, and if it weren't transparent I wouldn't. I'm not worried about it though. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do it. Doop, 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 doop. I'm just going to stitch this on like that, and stitch each of these on the same way. The big thing is making sure that that bead sits flat the way that I want it to. So yeah. Alright, so I'm going to mark my next one. So I chose to not knot behind each of these because I know if I have a knot behind each of them, it's going to be scratchy against my neck because each of those knots is going to rub up against it, versus this, which is just going to be kind of just smooth thread against my neck. So I chose to value my comfort over a little bit of appearance. That was my choice. Boop, boop, boop. Decided I'm just going to kind of mark these as I go along. Good, good. And go through this guy. And this one. And then back through this guy. My Achilles hurts right now. Alright, yes, yes. Now we go through the ribbon. And I'm going to make a stitch. Pull that into place. Nice and tight. Good, good. Now I'm going to make another stitch to move on. I'm going to do this a million more times. Alright, so I've done one side. This is what it looks like. Much sparkle, much pink. Pings pleased. This is what it looks like on the opposite side. So I'm going to do the same thing, and I'm going to start with this piece and work this way. That way I can keep the spacing pretty consistent. Yeah, let's do it. Alright, I finished sewing these on. Here's what it looks like from this end, and here's what it looks like from this end. There we have it. And now I want to attach my gummy bears because they're so cute. They are flippin' adorable. Ping is pleased. Alright, what I'm going to do is I got some jump rings. Perfect. Right, when I stick this guy through, I don't want to break any fibers. I want to kind of slide them out of the way if I can. So if I break them, I'm going to make this whole thing weaker, right? I'm going to stick this in. Let's see if I can just kind of shimmy. I'll just kind of move the threads around it. Perfect. Try not to break any of the threads, right? Now I'm going to stick my piece on. Rope, rope. Use my pliers. Alright, if this were a piece that I cared a whole heckin' lot about, at this point what I would do is I would put just a dab of nail polish, like right here, and then that would seal that, and then it's not going to come off. As it is, it does have that little, you can see how there's a tiny bit of a gap there, and as long as there's any sort of gap, and there always will be just a tiny bit of one, it can slide off of this because this is fabric and it's just, you know, a few fibers it's got to go through and it's off, right? So if I really super cared about this piece, I'd put a little bit of a dab of, I would just put a little dab of nail polish right there, and that would take that care of that because that would seal that up and that would be a thing. But yeah, nail polish is kind of the best. Also, if there are any sharp edges, it's a great thing to use. So if you have any little sharp edges, just throw some nail polish on, or resin, especially like a UV resin is really easy to use and a little bit less toxic than some of the other resins, depending. So yeah, you could also do the same thing with resin here. Alright, now I'm going to do the same thing for the other ones. Okay, now I'm done. Look how cute it is. Dope, dope. You can see how I attach them. Glope, glope. See how it's attached. They're relatively secure. Got some space there. And there we go. Alright, I added a slight dab of nail polish right here into kind of the crevice that the jump ring has so that it's not going to slide off, because these little threads can very easily come off. So I just put a little dab of nail polish in there, and I did that for all of these so that they will stay on more easily. So we love, it's a clear nail polish. It's really great. Clear nail polish is really awesome for jewelry and other crafts, because if you have, say, if this is made out of nickel or I don't know, something else that somebody's going to have an allergy towards, then I can coat it in the clear nail polish, and then it can touch their skin without causing an allergic reaction, because it's coated in that, so that the zinc or nickel or whatever it is isn't actually touching the skin of the person who has that allergy. So it's really great. There's a tip. There's a nice tool for you. Another thing I'll use often is fray check. So especially when I'm using fabric like this, what I could do is I could put fray check under each of these, kind of where my stitching is, and that'll just keep it from, make it less likely to rip out and keep it from fraying. So those are two materials that you can use that just give you a little extra strength. Yep. Alright, so there it is. Something to warm the hearts of every inner child, or maybe just mine, I don't know. But yeah, I hope you had fun. I hope you learned something, and yeah, see you later.